Yo, Austin.
Hello. Welcome back.
What is up? Welcome back
Hello.
to the Silo Podcast.
Good morning. Hope your morning, hope your evening, hope your
Mm.
afternoon, hope your night is going well.
Fan-frickin-tabulous.
It's been forever.
It has
And by
been.
that, I mean, it's just another month here at the Silo Podcast.
Just another month. Just another month. It's like we've been talking like it's been like years.
It
Even
has
though to
been.
us, it probably kind of feels like it.
Yeah, we saw each other last night, so it's not a big
Yeah,
deal.
I know. And we're seeing each other again today.
Yeehaw! We're back at it again.
Back at it again. So this is talking about like back at it again. This is kind of like, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you probably remember us briefly. Oh, I think we dedicated a whole episode kind of briefly to this.
Oh, yeah.
But remember when we had a potential silo HQ?
That was fun. That was actually right around the time of the fall capture.
Yeah.
Because we invited people like to play games and
Yeah.
pizza afterwards.
Yeah.
At our little space. We were going to
Yeah.
play it on the floor.
That was
And it was like a
you,
little housewarming.
Nate, me,
Katie.
Dan. Was there anybody else?
I don't think so. It was a small
No,
party.
It was a small party. We
Yeah.
got pizza and
Heck yeah.
fries and played spicy,
Mm-hmm.
But-
That was the best part.
It honestly was. It honestly was. And that's crazy because then this podcast, like, we'll have like maybe 2 or 3 captures in the bag after that because that was our
Yeah.
first one.
Oh, yeah. That was the first one. It was
Dang.
like, what, October,
Yeah.
November, something like that?
Dang.
Probably October.
Dang, time flies.
Right? We're
But-
almost on a year anniversary.
That's crazy.
That boggles my
It
mind.
does. It really does.
Because, like, that was just a hit from the start. And we're just like,
Yeah.
we do them every season now.
But like,
Oh, man.
so the HQ, for those that haven't like just started listening, if you ever want to know, you can always go back. But we potentially had a silo HQ in Columbia, but just because of just things kind of fell through.
Mhm.
But at least something that we took positive from it was the fact that all Austin wanted to do was buy plants.
Dude, environments matter, okay? Jeez. Oh, man. He every time he's like, "Oh, Austin, when we move out, are you just gonna buy a lot of plants?" I'm like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally every 5 minutes, like we would go, like he'd be like, "Bro, just imagine a plant right
Seriously.
there." And I'd be like, "Yeah."
I'm like, I've seen a plant at Target. It's a fake plant, so we'll
Yeah.
never have to water it. It's like
Yeah.
$100. Let's just go in together on our
Mhm.
budget.
Which
and
was our
this-
entire budget, by the way. Like we wouldn't have been able to buy anything else. It would have just been a plant.
Imagine though.
That's true.
Because like plants make like, for me, like this is important, right?
Yeah.
I think like, I don't know. It's probably like, I don't know if this is new to me or since I've been dating Katie, her mom has like, literally it takes her like 2 hours to water all of her plants every day. Cause it's like a
Jeez.
jungle in their house, which is like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. That's
But like, I guess I just was like, these like sell the place for me. And like to have big giant like elephant ears in like the corners of the
Yeah.
rooms and stuff. To me, that's like the mid-century modern like kind of vibe that I would want in my own home anyway. So I was like, if I'm going to set the tone for a creative space, for me, it is plants. For me in my office at home, I have like little like $5 Target like plants.
But they're cute.
Yeah, they're cute and they like, I don't know. For me, that's just a staple piece that I need, like greenery, because I'm so focused on like screens. I'm like, I need a little bit of outside world in here.
Yeah. Very much so. But like 100% I'm for that. But I think
No,
it was a
he-
minor obsession.
He goes like this every time. Every time I talk about it.
Like it was just like
He's like, bro, shut up about the plants.
'cause you're right.
Gosh.
like I like the plants are nice. Like I'll have plants in the house. I'll have plants in like an office space. But like to me, it just seemed like you just wanted the whole room to be plants.
No, I wanted that like $100 plant, like elephant
Oh,
ear, like
okay.
looming over the couch. That's all I wanted. And I'd have like little ones maybe would be somewhere
I
else,
thought
but-
I was gonna walk into the space and it'd just be like 40 or 50 plants.
Listen, let me tell you, if I could get a moss wall where we
that
would
be
live,
cool.
I would.
It's kind of like a refillism,
Yeah,
like her wall that she has on the outside.
exactly.
You walk right in.
This is the best part. You love that. You like that wall.
I
That's
do.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You do love
I
that
do,
wall. Because
but it's minimal. It's
every
nice.
time-
It's not like
every
there's
time I talk
plants
about it,
every like crevice
No, but that's how you remember refillism, because you brought that up just right now, and you just said, "Oh, refillism has that."
Yeah. So like this is nice. Like
yeah.
stuff that's not gonna like, because I've been into like place like I don't want to like walk in and be like a greenhouse. Like there'll be
Yeah.
plants everywhere, leaves everywhere, because then it's people really can't enjoy it, and then you also can't because you're constantly cleaning things up.
Yeah, I get that. I'm a fake plant kind of guy until I can take care of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so like I think when we were talking about the HQ, it was like you like plant. I was like, bro, so he's this boy is thinking about plants in like every single square inch of this this HQ. And I was
What's
like,
wrong with that?
what are we gonna do? Like, are we just gonna invite people over and be like, don't mind me, it's a forest out here? Like,
listen, we can make that happen.
I mean, yeah, we could.
But like that also, I think, translates too into like creativity, obviously.
Nice.
And how like environments obviously affect how you feel, like I said earlier. And like, so part of this set that we have right here is I didn't even ask Gavin today. I'm like, hey, we'll need to grab like set pieces for our desk today. And he comes in with these nice like flowery things.
These are
going
from
on.
Jess. She got them.
But still.
So I can't really take care of plants.
Exactly. You gave me this one and I watered him last week.
Oh, yeah.
He's
He's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know what succulents are. I'm a first time plant dad, guys. Any advice on how to take care of them, please help.
I love that.
So
does that
Gavin
make me like granddad? Because technically I gave
uncle.
Oh, uncle. Okay.
I don't know. Either way, but like we treat our environments how we want to be treated too, right? And like what environments do you want to create? And like for creativity, for your environments, do you feel like you have to have it perfect to experience the highest level or most efficient like wave of creativity?
I think environments play a huge part, and I think it's also not necessarily just like the decor, but also the place that you're working or people that you surround yourself with.
Okay.
Because like, yes, I think having the aesthetic helps a ton, because if you're more of a minimalistic and your office is completely insanely cluttered, then you're probably not going to be focused, because you're going to
be off the rails.
Yeah, because you're just going to be like, I need to do this, I need to move this here, I need to do that there.
Right.
And if fluorescent lighting really affects the way that you work, then working in an office space that has fluorescent lighting is probably not going to be your best bet. And so like those things, I think those things are the stuff that can be easily fixed and can be very close to perfection.
Those are the things you can control too.
Yeah. Like the controlled environment stuff, which I think is super important, especially as a creative, because if the more things that you are able to control in your environment, I feel like the more that as human beings we become at peace with things.
Yeah.
More or less like with office space and creativity. But I think on the flip side of that, the stuff that we can't control ends up stressing us out more.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's like the people you're working with, the space and building that you're in, kind of the atmosphere, the things that are expected of you. Those are the stuff that kind of we can't control. And we can, I think, in fact, almost feel more at peace when those things are at a relatively nice pace. But I think environment helps a ton with managing creatives. And I think I'll just pull out a statement right off the bat.
Hit him with it.
A healthy environment. So them talking not necessarily about the things that we can control, like the cool items that we have with us on our desk, and like the sick wood that we have here and the cool background.
This is the best.
I know, right? These are the things that Austin and I were like, you know what? We're going to do it this way, and we're going to create it this way. And we're like, sick. Great environment. I'm talking about the stuff that you can't control.
Yeah.
The things that maybe a boss over you can, or just the environment that you're in. So a healthy environment doesn't sacrifice its people for the sake of the show. I'm gonna
just mic drop that.
Yeah.
Actually, though, oh my gosh. Well, I mean,
yeah.
I was watching a video today actually, and it was a production company, and the guy was like, yeah, like the first step to the first 3 steps to a business are like acquire skills, acquire people, and then acquire money.
Yeah.
Like he invests in people.
Yeah.
Because if the people are happy, obviously, you're gonna have the best work out of them.
Exactly. And I think like if you're more worried about, and the show could be anything. If you're an artist, it could be like you're showing work. It could be the collaborative that you're a part of. I mean, Austin and I work at a church. And so for us, a lot of it's like a Sunday morning. It's kind of like our show because that's when ministry happens for us.
Yeah.
And then for others, like a musician, it could be like a concert. It could be the song that you produced. But it really, I think in an environment where you're either under somebody or you are over like people and the boss or trying to manager of a situation, if you're more focused on the money and the amounts of people that you may bring in or this and that and
the outcome,
and you're not, like you said, not focused on the people that you're working with or investing in, then I mean we'll talk into it in this episode, but like burnout starts to really become a real thing. The people around you, the environment starts to become more and more toxic. People don't want to work anymore, and it just I think a lot of times businesses or churches or different organizations believe that like if we can hit this number, we'll be good. But then they fail to recognize that all of the
there's a lot of in between to that number. Like especially at larger organizations, larger anything. Like you think, okay, I have these teams so that I can acquire 10 new businesses, or I can acquire 10 new customers, 10 new listeners, 10 new buyers for my art. And they fail to realize like, yo, listen, like there are humans in between your goals and then like the outcome. And it's like those people make that outcome happen. And if you're just the one strategizing and forecasting how to make that happen, and you're avoiding the people in between, the systems in between, then you're going to miss the mark there, because investing in people is way, way, way more valuable. Like if I invest in someone that just came out of high school or something and was like, oh, I just barely know Photoshop. Yeah. I'd be like, this is an opportunity to watch this person grow, and they'll realize that you took a chance on them and they would want to repay you. And that's not like the guilt way of going about it. I'm just saying like they realize, yo, listen, like this guy trusted me. Like I'm going to try to show up for him the best I can. Because I want to make his value, his troubles worth it.
Exactly.
Like,
and I think it really shows the importance of having empathy towards the people in your group and the creatives within your group. Because I think not everything should be run like your typical like business format of make money, do things to acquire more money, and then achieve those things. And certain organizations, that's good because that's how that organization works in that system. But I don't think that there is like a one surefire way for everything to work out, because I don't know about you guys, but if you look around, people are very different from other people. People are very unique in their abilities. And I mean, Austin and I working together, like we find like the people that we work with, we're like, oh, okay, this person is more introverted, so they do a lot of their work when they're alone and away from people, where this person needs other people to help fuel them. And so I think it's having that empathy towards those that you're working with. Like it really just brings it back to people. It's just like, if you don't know the people that you're working with or the people that you're trying to bring along in this vision, then the ship's it's not gonna crash. It's gonna burn from within, and then you're not gonna have a working ship after a couple months, couple weeks, and so I mean, couple hours even. Like people really do be trying to yank and york, but I'm just saying. Yeah. But I think it's important. I think through that, like we have some, I think, talked about some steps that maybe could be applicable. At least I thought through some things, but I don't know if you have
I have a quick
anything.
comment. I think there's something to be said about creativity and art being an imperfect process.
Yeah.
That it's not a black or white ever in like any art.
Nope.
Like it is an imperfect process. Therefore, empathy needs to be a part of that process because you might see something that someone else doesn't, or they might see something that you don't.
Yeah.
And because of that, it can either be stitched together or it can be torn apart because of lack of empathy or more empathy.
Yeah.
And when you bring people together and you have empathy for your teammates or people that you work with or people that you're collaborating with, and you say, yo, listen, like, this is where I think you're off the track a little bit. This is where I think you're like killing it, like do your thing, is because like it's so imperfect. Like there's no right way to do Austin's photography, and there's no right way for you to do your music. Yeah. And for me to speak into your music, well, it might actually tear you apart because I know nothing about music. And for you to speak into, you know, painting, you know nothing, so you're probably going to derail the person maybe. And there's other ways that your perspective can help a painter, and my perspective can help your music. I think it's all from a place of like empathy and understanding that it's an imperfect process, imperfect way of going about things. It's just a black and white.
Exactly.
It's not black and white.
When we live in a world of there's no perfect person. Everybody's imperfect. And so if we expect people to be perfect in a work environment just because we're in a work environment, then you're not going to get anything out of it.
Right.
And so it's just a bunch of misfits doing a bunch of things that they're passionate about. And if there's no grace, like you said, no empathy, and no just sure love for human beings, then the thing's not going to work out.
I think like the first point is like know your creative team.
Yep.
If you don't know the people, how can you have empathy for them?
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder if I don't view you as a person. Or if I don't view you as someone that has equal value in the work that you do, or hey, if I don't think that you're 100% in on the project that you're working on, I need to have a conversation with you and say, hey, is this something that like interests you, or is this like not the route you're trying to go to improve yourself, improve your art, improve your career, whatever it is? I need to be open enough, and you need to be vulnerable enough. And the only way to do that is to sit down and have a real conversation with someone.
Exactly. And I think then the subset of that like is learning to be predictable. Like if you're learning your creative team and how they work, you want them also to know you, but then also to feel comfortable and safe coming to you. So it's almost like having like that stable temperament. Like if you're learning your creative team and like they do something that you are like, you're not used to, or it just rubs you the wrong way and you like blow up, then they're not going to be like, I don't think I'm going to let this person learn about me, or because they're just going to be off about it. But then on the flip side of that, if you are more predictable with the things how you do things and how you organize and work in the creative team, then they can adapt. Because I think one of the coolest things about a creative is that I feel like people are very adaptable. Like creatives are adaptable because they're constantly creating new things, constantly striving to get something different. And because of that, they're constantly adapting to their newfound abilities, newfound environment, etc. And so that is, I think, something because of that is definitely taken advantage of in creative environments, because people are like, oh, they're just creatives.
Oh, they can take whatever we give them.
Do whatever. And it's like, no, like any human being needs to have something predictable. Just because you're creative doesn't mean that goes away.
Right.
And I think it's super important. And then through that, like you discover the clear direction and distinct like reasoning that you have for what you're doing. So if you have like your purpose, you have what you guys are doing, what you're organizing through it, you have a clear temperament, like you said, like learning how your team works, then you have to make sure that the direction is clear and your reasoning is clear, like with anything, like with the project, with critiquing somebody. Like you don't just want to be like, yo, Austin, that was bad, and then walk away.
But why?
Or like, what?
This is similar to how in psychology classes that I've taken have described like parenting. You're never just supposed to say, well, so let me preface this with how to be a healthy
Oh snap.
parent
Professor Austin.
is to take into consideration what the questions that the person would have if you were to tell them something. So if you just said, Austin, your work is terrible, I would want to know, what the heck did I do? Like, Gavin, explain yourself.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if there's a parallel to parenting where if you scold someone and don't tell them what they did wrong, how are they going to know not to do it again, right? So to have that clear direction and say, hey, Gavin, that painting that you did, I didn't like how you mixed like the brown and the blue together. It made a really muddy color that isn't super descriptive of what the emotions we're trying to feel. And then I ask, does that make sense to you?
Yeah. And then I would respond in a way that hopefully wouldn't be taken like an offense.
Right.
Because like you're being vulnerable.
It's a help me understand and not a I'm telling you.
Yeah. And then it's you being vulnerable and me also allowing for myself to be vulnerable. So
because I could be proven wrong too. I could say that blue and that brown, you know what, Gavin, you were right. That actually did make sense for what you were going for. Exactly. I did not understand.
Exactly. And like Austin's perfectly articulated. It's like, I did not understand this and that. It's not like,
there's no right or wrong.
Yeah, like there's not like I think we like you said earlier, it's everybody believes it to be very black and white, but it's really honestly you're providing a box for the creative to be in, but allowing for them to think about it, to like have those like boundaries, but then to think outside of it. So like things like implementing a deadline, a budget, a purpose, an audience. It creates the environment to be like, oh, okay, so this is what I'm working towards. This allows for the person that's implementing it to be able to speak into it and be like, hey, those blue and brown not really working with the purpose. Not necessarily. It provides direction for both sides rather than it just being like, that sucked. Don't do that.
Right.
Because I don't like it. No, it's like you said. It's like that blue and brown didn't work out because our purpose is not necessarily to create a muddy traction. It's more clarity. So blue and brown creating that feel, unless you are thinking something different and like what would that be, because I'm trying to understand and not like assume what you're trying to put out there rather than being like on top of them for it. And so
I think what we're also trying to say is these are real conversations that we've been a part of where, you know, we've gotten talking down to. Talking down to? Is that how you say told? Talking?
Told. I like the when you say talking down to. So I'm
talking down to.
I think it's kind of funny. I think it's great. I think
because we have both been talking down to about. See, it sounds weird, right?
Spoken down to?
Spoken.
I don't know.
That might be it.
I don't know.
Talking? The more we say it, the more bad it sounds.
No, like I think it sounds good like when it's by itself. But then when you like had it as a train of thought.
You're right. You're right. We've both been spoken down to about these things.
That's better.
And we've been in these scenarios where it's been a box, but we don't even know where the boundaries are.
Yeah.
And how do you break out of that if you don't know where the lines are?
Yeah.
How do you understand the scope of said project if you're stuck like, can I break out this way? Or is that going to cause bad things to happen? Can I break out this way? Or do I just stay inside, do the bare minimum and then get scolded for doing the bare minimum without understanding that, oh, you know what? Manager person says, yeah, you could have went this way. And like, you never told me like what could be possible with this.
Exactly.
Like,
I think also it's like maybe box is frustrating. It's just the minimal words for that.
Yeah.
But like maybe box isn't the best. Maybe like house. Because like you're in a house, there's different rooms, there's different levels, and then you can go outside. And I think like as a creative, we kind of need those guidelines, those guardrails, because like, oh, maybe this room is designated for that, but I can go into this room to figure these things out, or I can go outside and follow the fence lining, or maybe leave the fence lining for this. But like you said, if it's not clearly like listed out for you, and it's not in a way where it's like boxes within the boxes within the boxes,
boxception.
But it's more like, okay, so this is what we want you to do. This is where we feel like you're being called in this area, in this portion of our organization, or in this drive. And this is like we want you to have creative freedom within this. Just don't go past this or reach this budget, would be so much better than like, here's a job description, do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, how?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you didn't even give me you didn't even tell me the things that I could use in the environment that I am in to actually fulfill that job description.
Yeah. What color paints am I allowed to use for this? That would help. Oh, you mean maybe you're not allowed to use like black color?
Yeah.
Or like you're maybe not allowed to, whatever it is.
And
you're not allowed to use this paintbrush.
Yeah. And I feel like if it is one of those environments where it's like, no, like you literally have free reign, that needs to be said rather than being like, here, go. Like it needs to be like, okay, like we're bringing you on so that you have complete creative freedom to do this as long as you're achieving this purpose. And like I feel like that's so much better than kind of like your general job description, and you kind of have to assume. And then it changes, and then you're like, oh, I didn't know, and then it just goes.
This episode is sponsored by Refillism.
Woo!
Heck to the yes.
We love you, Elizabeth.
We love
So
Elizabeth.
you finally got it right this time.
Yeah, you did. I was proud of you.
Last episode.
Dude, I think every episode you've gotten it wrong and I've corrected you, whether in the edit where you don't see it, or in the actual pod. I've said something. But yeah. So seeing like Elizabeth's growth over the last it's been like 4 months maybe that we've hung out and gotten to know her a little bit.
Yeah.
Has just been unreal. Like numbers don't usually mean a whole lot.
Yeah.
To us, like we preach like your follow count doesn't mean anything, but it takes a lot to be a business that can rally a community of people. And so seeing her go from like 3 to 500 and then, over the last 4 months to like 1,500 people has been unreal. Like that doesn't happen
unreal
to a company or, business that is just doing it to do it. Like it's either they have an awesome marketing team or their products are real. Yeah. And like, so that's the thing, is that everything is just so real with her. Yeah. She is an amazing person. She's been super real, literally though. And it's just been unreal watching her grow.
Elizabeth Bauer, president 2022.
For real though?
Do it.
All right, we're working on that. We can be our campaign managers.
Yes.
So in this part of the ad, we're going to give Gavin a few of her items and see what he can find use for. So
got you, Elizabeth.
We're going to go and give you a quick example of how we would use your products, Elizabeth. This is what I got for number one.
So so typically with Refillism, she labels like we have them labeled, but this one is a surprise item. I'm probably going to drink it.
Next product. What would you do with that?
Well, this is, I guess it's considered cheating, but it says daily shower on it.
Okay, so take a shower.
So I would probably I wouldn't even use the water though. I'd probably just whoosh.
This is the next one.
This is a hat.
The next one.
This is a water bottle.
Okay, great. That's actually how many ounces is that? I'm curious.
2.7 ounces.
Oh, it says it right on here. Can we get a bonk in chat for that one?
Bonk. It's 2.7.
It says it right on there. Nice.
I feel like I'd drink like 8 of these and I'd be chilling.
Dude, that's how you're just like, listen.
Yeah, just be
if I need to drink a gallon a day.
Who needs shot glasses when you have shots of water bottles?
Reusable shots. Take that, environment. What would you do with this?
This is a microphone.
Okay, talking to it.
Hello.
Okay, next one.
This is deodorant.
Okay, here. Actually spray me though.
Oh, no, I'm not going to actually spray you.
Nah, spray me.
I'm not going to spray you, dog.
Bro, spray me. It says surface cleaning. Spray me, dog. Yes! I am clean. Thank you, Refillism. We love you. She just continues to spread amazing eco-friendly products to the community. You can also check her out on refillism.com.
Yes.
Peace. And that plays into timing a little bit too, because you want that person that either is organizing or is in charge or has the most information. You should get that information in the beginning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pre-production that goes into art, and a lot. If you're working in a team, that's a lot of that's like a manager's job to do the pre-production of your work, and for that timing, you would to have your information ahead of the start date is so crucial, because if that changes mid project, maybe you're painting, you can't really go back a ton.
No.
Like you can paint over, and like, you know, I'm not a painter, but I'm sure like getting halfway done and saying, yeah, we're going to need orange on that layer that you already did. That doesn't fly. Because
then it would just be a thick boy painting.
Exactly. You'd have like 1 inch off the canvas or something.
Nobody wants to carry that around.
But like, so that like timing matters in that.
Yeah.
And that is called respect for your time.
Yeah.
So that is so powerful. Respect for your time. If you have someone that's telling you, hey, listen, yeah, you're gonna need to work extra hours to make this happen, and it's outside of when you like normally run your business, run your production, you know, do your art. It's not within those hours. You better be either getting paid more, you better be like, you know, compensated somehow. Like, that is respect for time, to get that information ahead of time, just so that you can say yes or no to it. To get it halfway through is honestly unacceptable. And that's where you then say, I can't guarantee it, but maybe I can work with something.
And then allow like the person that's asking that question being able to be like, take that as an appropriate answer.
Right. If it's you do it, or you know, whatever, you don't get the job, red flag, get out of there. Like, don't take that.
If people are giving you ultimatums, I think it's one of those things. Like I think Austin and I have talked about a lot. It's like, you want to treat the people that you're with the way that you would also want to be treated. So like, let's say like the boss is like, hey, like I can't do this. Like we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to pull this. Well, the people could be like, no, like we've been working on it forever. And then they go and continue. Like it's just, it's the same thing. Like you don't want to, if you were in that position, you wouldn't want somebody to be like, hey, like you have to add another 40 hours to your week this week because we have to fill these things in. Yes, I understand that there's things that need to get done, and there's deadlines, and sometimes things come up, but I think there's,
but
like
does it actually need to be done?
Yeah.
When you say you need to work overtime for it, or is it simply, I expected it at this date, and now that larger implications are happening, it needs to be pushed even faster. Like you've worked overtime before, and I've had to tell you, Gavin, like, yo, we draw the line at 40 hours, and anything over that is a big deal that we need to talk about. And you sit, and I remember you being I remember you saying like, oh, I'm just like working hard right now, I need to just like finish it up. I'm like, you can work hard during your 40 hours. You know, and that doesn't apply just to this and the 40 hours job, but like say I rationed 8 hours for this painting today or this crocheting project today. Like you can work hard during that, but anything outside of that you've quoted this person for, it can be done either at a rate or something else.
I agree.
Boundaries. We've talked about that before.
and it comes up because I think it's one of those things where I think creatives feel attacked on. I think anybody feels attacked on with boundaries, is with their work or with boundaries. It all kind of goes along that stuff, is like, how do creatives feel when their work is being attacked? And we've seen it come out in different ways, and we've experienced it. But what would you have to say to the listeners leaning in on this?
I think you need to just come at it from a humble place, first of all, and say, yeah, I know my work's not going to be perfect. Do you have any suggestions on how I can change it? And you know, being open to that. And like I said, that creativity is an incomplete process. Like there's always going to be something to be spoken into, whether it's your vision or not your vision is a different story, but people are always going to have an opinion. And so that's where you take it with humble, like a humble heart when they say it, at least if it's like to your face or, you know, and like very like one-on-one. And from there you can decide like, is this opinion worth hanging on to? You know, and that's a value judgment you have to make by yourself. That can be also tied into how you view the person, like your history with that person. If you don't have a history, realize like, is this a detrimental thing? Or am I just being egotistical about it? And like, no, I don't want to change things about my work. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Like you got to come off the pedestal, I think.
Exactly. And I think then in the same boat, the other person that may be expecting that also needs to understand that perfection cannot be achieved. Like there is no, like there's things that we're like, oh, like that was perfect, but there is no perfect. Like in this world, there's nothing that is perfect. Like even there's not even like I found out, I was reading the other day, it's not even like a perfect circle. Like the things that we think like, oh, like that was a perfect circle. It doesn't exist. There's like even like they even got really, really close to it. And like, it was like still a fraction off because it just doesn't exist.
Right.
And so if we go into the mindset of like perfection is going to be achieved, then I think we've already failed.
Right.
Because like, and I think you would probably agree, it's just like perfection cannot be achieved. And if we have that mindset and the team thinks that they have to achieve the perfection, I think then we wonder why people have anxiety or people have problems with certain images that be about themselves or about the work that they do. It's because they're constantly being fed in a culture and an environment where perfection needs to be achieved when there actually is, there's no perfection anywhere. And that doesn't mean that it's not good. I mean, it's just not.
You can get closer
perfect.
and closer to perfection. You're probably, if not ever, going to reach it.
Yeah.
But the only way to get closer and closer to perfection would be with time.
Yeah.
And sometimes, a lot of the times, you don't have time. So you can get close enough to a point where it's like, that's where I'm at. If it's good or not, it's whatever it is. But especially if you're a manager of creatives, you have to realize that your expectations cannot be through the roof.
No.
That's not to say I have the best crew ever and I do expect the best out of them. Like you should expect the best because you should be taking care of their heart and their purpose and who they are. If they're being fed from all of those angles, that's where you can truly experience their best work.
Exactly.
If you're expecting the top tier work and not feeding the people that you care about and the people that are on your team, that's where you're going to have a disconnect. It's going to be like, I'm striving for 10, you're giving me a 7. What happened here? And a lot of the time it's like, okay, the team member would say, you didn't meet my needs, A, B, C. Yeah. That would have taken you from a 7 to 8 to 9 to a 10.
Exactly. I think like you saying, like having time to create, but then also I think within that, it's like we have the things that when we're in a creative and the managers and things, I think that there's different seasons that different people are in. I think expecting that everybody is going to produce the same quality of work every single day, even the best and most well-experienced creatives don't get that because, again, we talked about it before, like with Instagram, like the things that you see on Instagram is not like an everyday thing.
Right.
It's a lot of times is like, oh, this, even if people are going on trips, like you negate the fact that they had to get to the location first, and that journey is not it's not always fun,
right?
And so like we've talked about it before, but like burnout within that situation, it's not equaling, it's like, so burnout, like we've talked about before, but I think we've kind of redefined and getting in more of it, but like, so burnout does not equal doing too much work. Burnout equals doing too much work that doesn't fulfill you and your soul.
Right.
And if you're in a bad environment where that is constantly being shoved, like you have to do this, you have to do this, have to do this, with no negate to who the person is and actually what they are being fulfilled on, like photography, if like someone's being like, no, I want you to do video, but you were hired to be a photographer and now suddenly things are being switched.
Right.
Like that's not good, because then that person's gonna be burnt out because now they have to learn how to do videography, and see, they might find out they don't even enjoy it, and then they have to do it, and so it's learning, okay, like how can we use those bad environments, and as a creative, if there's times where we need to leave them, how can we leave them? But then also as a manager, like how can you learn from those bad environments and like use them to create better ones? Because if you're constantly creating a burnout environment, chances are it's not going to be a long-lasting environment that people are going to stay a part of.
And being a manager, it's tough to be like self-aware on those things, because thinking about it, it's just like, I'm thinking about how to improve the quality of the work we're putting out, but you might be not thinking about how am I affecting the people around me and their thoughts on us moving forward.
Exactly.
And that's where I think a lot of the hierarchy of management, project management, that kind of thing for creatives almost falls apart, because you have to be on a playing field where everyone is like horizontally equal. Hey, you know, if this project is, I have to shoot a video and it needs like a title and it needs credits, blah, 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 whatever. You know, I'm not good at making animations. I need to rely on Gene over here to make those.
Gene.
And then Gene might hand it off to me, and I'll be like, okay, I can cut this up and make sure that the video looks good. And then I'll be like, well, I know the story looks good now. The colors might not look good. So I need to pass it on to Jeffrey. And Jeffrey's going to handle the coloring of this. And then for the end, I don't even know who all was involved in this project. So now Jan needs to come along, and
the J named team members there.
And Jan needs to come along and write down all the people's credits and the producer of it all. So leaning, you know, there can be a project manager above that kind of says, hey, make sure your job gets done. Make sure Jan is taking control of this part. But you need to be equally like yoked and say, yo, we're in this together. We're in this together, and we need to make this happen. And if you guys aren't on that same page, a lot of things fall apart. But let's transition now and like
Hit the remix.
And I want to know, like, how have your experiences from those bad direction, that bad manager, that bad client, how has that affected how like we've gone about what we've created in Silo? Like, how does that translate? Because we've had experiences like that. And I think, you know, you always try to do, you know, say, I'm going to transition back into parenting. Like, if your parents were bad at one thing and treated you bad in this way, I think part of being a kid is like learning, like, I'm not going to parent like that when I get older. So we've been treated badly now, you know, as everyone has, not trying to play a victim, but like everyone experiences some kind of thing that they would not do themselves. So how have we been affected that we have been trying to do better?
So I think like ultimately at the forefront, Silo and our events is like we're trying to create an environment where it's like the complete opposite of the thing. I think some of the things that we've experienced and grown up in, and I think even presently, and there are some experiences in some environments that we are in that we're like, we're not gonna do that in the Silo realm of things. And I think because of that, it's allowed for us to create environments like Silo Capture or the Silo Slam. It's like, so when you are a goal, and hopefully if you're not experiencing this, feel free at any time, at any moment to reach out to us.
This is where you hold us accountable.
And be like, yo, I didn't feel this, or I think this could be a better way that you guys could do it. Because ultimately we're the two dudes that maybe like monitoring like the neutral zone, but ultimately you guys are the ones that make it up and the ones that will expand it and grow it and move it. And so as Silo, as a creative in our environments, it's like, okay, we want creatives to walk into an environment where they feel loved, that they feel welcomed, that no matter who they are, what they are, what they do, that they feel like they can come and feel that love regardless, that there's no like expectations that you come in and you already have to have like millions of followers and have to be this and that. No, like you just come in. You don't even have to. First off, I don't like that people consider this, but they think that they're not creatives. Everybody's a creative, but you walk in, you don't think you're creative. We're gonna make you believe it because you're creative, like that. Like anybody is, and so we want people to experience that when they walk in. But then the second part of it is like the feeling. But then actually, when you're doing things within our environment, is feeling like you can continue that feeling and what you're doing, and feel like you can be like, oh, I can actually see this like. this is the season. Austin and Gavin showed us for this capture, or this is kind of like the element, the feel that we're going for. And then we literally just give it to you and say, this is the kind of like, don't go past this realm. We're going to meet up at this time. Don't just make sure don't damage that, but like create, like do your creation, feel like you were created. If you need help with things or just need a different eye on things, we're walking around and creating with you. Because I think another thing is stuff that we've
that's the
gone
horizontal
through.
thing.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, we're going to manage you guys. It's like, if you need us, we'll be over here.
Creating
we're doing
with
it too
you.
because we're not perfect and
Exactly.
and we need the same amount of practice as you do to do stuff, if not more.
Exactly. I think that's another thing that we've learned is it's always been very much a handoff approach rather than like let's get in the nitty gritty with you. Because if you as a team member see that your team captain isn't doing the things with you, then why are you going to follow them?
Right.
Like they're not doing the same thing. Like they're not, there's times, yes, where like they have to give it to you that you solely have to do because you're benefiting the team. But as a whole, if they're not like actively investing in what things are being done, then why would you listen?
Yeah. You can't like preach something different than you're actually doing, especially in like the creative field.
Exactly.
Where we're maybe
hypocrisy
when we're trying to inspire but don't feel inspired, that's we're doing it wrong.
Exactly.
You know, and if you see something that we're preaching and not doing ourselves, you need to call us out on that. And
exactly.
Please in the DMs, like give us heck for it because we need to hear it because that's the only way we're gonna get better.
Yeah, and that's the only way anybody can get better. But at the end of the day, like if the environment, like we talked about in the beginning, if the environment's not right, the people that you're around aren't right, and you're constantly feeling that drain. First, I think also it's important to look at yourself and maybe the boundaries that you may be crossing internally or retrospectively, but then also look at the environment itself. And I think there's definitely times and places where you'll be like, rue the day and try to uprise. But I think there's also moments where you learn and maybe you were just called to go through that experience so that you know, okay, my next opportunity or the next thing that I do, I'm not going to do the things that were done before.
Right. Yeah.
Like everything's a learning experience. Everything's a learning experience.
And if you come into it with that mindset, a lot of things will happen to you in a good way.
Yeah. If you come into it and you think I'm not going to learn because I'm already, then I'm sorry, man. Your ego is going to be the one that's going to be knocked down.
If you come to a silo capture and you think you're hot stuff because you have 10K followers, let me tell you, someone's going to come in and take a better shot than you and you're going to be disappointed. Yeah.
And honestly, I think a lot of times people won't know when you come to our spaces. I think something that we've enjoyed is a lot of times you don't necessarily get your Instagrams or the contacts until you actually meet the person. And when you meet the person, you don't expect them to have that immediately.
Because everyone's just a person until you know about their follower account.
And then you're like, oh, shoot, like we had a really good conversation and I didn't pre-deposition think, oh, they're better than me because they have more followers.
Yeah, which shouldn't be the case in the first place.
Exactly.
But
rock that.
Yeah, get some throw social classes out of the way.
Yeah,
basically. But
creative silo uprise.
Oh man,
we can call it a conference or whatever.
Yeah,
a creative uprise.
Working on that. No, but so let's go back in time here and think. Yeah.
Back to the Future, Part 4.
But from that all, in closing, when do you know when it's time to say I'm done with this environment? When do you know?
I think so. I guess I'm always gonna take it from okay, this is my experience. Maybe how can I explain it? I think retrospect, knowing when you know. I think it's a lot of times it's when the environment that you're in is not only it's constantly emotionally, physically draining you to the point where yes, you work maybe Sunday through Thursday, but those 2 days that you have off, the only thing you do is sleep. I think that's
that's when you know.
That's when you know, oh my gosh, if the only thing that I have no social life, I have no this, I have no this, I have no this. because this job has taken over, and I think there's definitely weeks and moments where that's going to be because you have to like grind time for the next like thing. But if it's every single day and you're constantly feeling drained, and then you wake up the next day, it's going to be better, and so you're fulfilled again, and then you get drained again. I think that's to the point where it's just like, hey, it's not just you maybe putting the boundaries that you need to be put in place. No, like it's literally in the environment that you're working in the place that you need to leave. And that's difficult, man.
Well, that's like your safety blanket, like especially as you're getting older, like in your 20s, maybe some of your 30s, like you have less things that depend on you, less things you have to keep up with. But like once you reach a point where a job is needed, like actually needed, like you're not allowed to live at your parents' house, or whatever the case is, like and you can't do anything else, or you don't have energy to even like go get groceries afterwards, like that's when like your whole body is like suffering.
Like if you can't take care of yourself because of the job you're working at, you're not, that's not a good job.
Right. and so at that point you see that nothing is going to change at the job. I think that's another key point is like okay, I've gained the courage to say, listen, these things are not going right for me. Like, can you help with this? And okay. So next week we'll work on this. Doesn't happen, or they don't bring it up again. That this needs to, they don't show you that you are like taken care of or taken seriously. That and that thing keeps happening, and you build something up and it just gets taken down, and you build something else and it gets taken down or not even looked at, or whatever the case is. If something keeps happening after you even say something, that's another point of entry or point of exit.
Yes. And then I think even outside of that, like next point would be like if there's that failure to recognize that that's an issue is another thing. Because like if you recognize it and then you bring it up and they're like or they don't do enough, or they don't change it, and then the next step is like they failed to recognize it. People around you maybe like, hey, like it's not this, not that, but you're constantly feeling it. And if there's other people that you work with day by day, they're like, yeah, this is an issue. Then I think that's like, okay, so you felt it, you got it confirmed with it, you actually brought it to the people that it's the issues with, and then the people around you are also feeling it. Then it's kind of bad. Like, okay, am I staying here to change it, or am I staying here to notify people and then leave?
Yeah. Straight up. That's just how like
it's hard, but it's so what it is.
Hard. It's so hard. But knowing that if this is like the worst thing you can possibly experience, realizing that like hopefully it only gets better from here, or it gets 5% better at the next place and 5% better at the third place. Like hopefully that is motivating or inspiring enough to say like, maybe at this next place, everything else will stay the same, but this pain point will get the inch better.
Exactly.
Like might be worth it.
Because not every place there's not any perfect place either.
Right.
And I guess that's what we're also trying to say is like, we're not perfect people. There's not a perfect place, but there is like maybe a percentage better place that you'll get to. And then even in that situation, you'll get to another one. And you'll learn what place that's not perfect, but something that you're willing to stay at.
Yeah.
That's where you'll work.
Every environment's going to have thorns, but like you got to fight the battles of like what thorns can stay versus is it worth it because of these like roses kind of deal.
If it's killing you, then it's not a good thorn.
Right.
But if it's just like...
if it's poking you to move along though, like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I think... that was funny. You just did that. You went,
I went boop. You just kept on going. I was like,
I tried to keep a straight face.
The extent of our relationship right there, where you just like Gavin's
I'm talking to the camera. I'm talking to the camera, Gavin. Get out of me. Get out of my case. Here. But then there's also third thing, and this will definitely be a finisher of like, what point do you just work for yourself? What point are you tired of others imposing rules and you finding like safety in making your own hours, making your own art because you want to when you want to, where you want to.
Starting your own organization.
Like what in the end is stopping you from doing that?
Exactly.
And that is also another scary journey you go on, but it's probably just as scary as starting a new job. Just imagine you still, maybe in the beginning, you're still working the same hours that you would at your last job to get all that work done. Like, I know a lot of people are scared of going to like do their own stuff because I don't have the time in the evenings to get this done after my day job. I'm already drained because of my day job. And it's like, well, okay, so imagine that day job is out of the way. Imagine what you can get done and how fast you can grow if you couldn't grow fast enough in the evenings. Imagine 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. If you wanted to get that rhythm going or that momentum going and then start choosing your own hours from there.
Exactly.
I think there's value in that, and at least trying that. Everyone I think that I've heard that went full time is like, yeah, it's a lot of work in the beginning, but once I get that system down, like I coast a lot of the time and I'm able to do this, that, and the other, which I wasn't able to do before.
Exactly.
No words. Gavin says yes and only yes.
Yes. And I guess we end it with saying know your worth.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Period.
That's what I wrote in our notes.
Exactly.
Today.
And that's what I read. I was like,
I messaged Gavin today. I'm like, hey, here's my thoughts for the podcast today. Like blah, 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 blah. You know, he wrote some stuff in. And my last point was know your worth. Period. So take that. Period. Peace out, guys. Take it easy. We love you. Remember, know your worth. It's a lot harder than you think.
You belong.
You're loved. You belong. You're cared for. You're thought about. And you are worthy.
Peace.